without further ado, I would like to invite Josh here to give his perspective. Josh stayed a few years in Bangkok. I think Thailand is a country that has got 26 coup d'etat. This is really a world record within a short period. You're not involved in any of this. Probably because he's a reporter, see whatever. Probably he was there in a red shirt and a yellow shirt. You know? And this is something we would like to listen. I don't look Josh as a Chinese. Sorry, to me he's not a Chinese. To me he's a human, a Malaysian. They would like to share you as a reporter, as a journalist. How do you look at Egypt vis-a-vis the various parts of the world? He has spent a lot of time in the United Nations working along with the refugees. Please welcome Josh.
Thank you, Saudara Arifin. Good evening, my fellow panelists and Saudara Sandri sekalian. Very good evening to you all. Well, I think Saudara Arifin is a very good entertainer. So I think, maybe in future, you know, we should have more MCs like him. I like his sense of humor.
Clowns sometimes.
They are good clowns and they are bad clowns. And definitely you are one of those good ones. And just now you remember, like, you know, Arifin began by asking my fellow panelists, Dr. Masli, to show his T-shirt. I was quite jealous, you know, when I look at his T-shirt, because this guy is actively, openly promoting a foreign airline, and also a foreign football club, not our national team. Bukan tu Harimau or apa-apa, but you know, Manchester City. So I have an advice for Versailles. You know, Versailles successfully organized so many rallies, but instead of being recognized for their achievement, they are branded as traitors, this that. Okay, we all know that. So maybe Versailles should raise enough money to also become a patron of one famous football club, so that, for example, like Real Madrid, so they can have their T-shirt out in the open, Versailles, and then Real Madrid, and then they will not be labeled as traitors to Malaysia and this and that, right? Okay, this is just to prove that I also have sense of humor. Saya cuma nak menghiburkan hati kamu semua. Itu aja. Okay, coming back to the topic tonight, military coup. You know, very interestingly, rightly as Arifin has said just now, the moment the coup in Egypt happened, and when I read several comments on Twitter or Facebook about, oh, this is a good club, this is not a coup, this intervention is meant to restore democracy and this and that. The first thing I thought of was the September 2006 coup in Thailand, when Thaksin was ousted, when he was giving a speech in the United Nations in New York. Back home in Bangkok, suddenly a group of generals moved against him, and he was ousted as prime minister. At the time, I remember the chief of the army, I think his name was Sonti Bunyarali. Yes, that's right. And he said, I have been called by many people to, for a coup in order to safeguard the monarchy and also in order to protect national security and interests. Okay. So he was trying to portray it to the media that what was happening in Bangkok at the time when tanks rolling into the city center, all this was done for a good reason. And I also remember Surin Pitsuwan, who was actually later on he became Secretary General of ASEAN. He just stepped down in January this year. He served 5 years as ASEAN Secretary General, and he was also Thai Foreign Minister for a while. And he also said the same thing. It was a good coup. What happened in 2006 was meant to protect the monarchy and also to act against authoritarianism represented by Thaksin, and also to restore peace and security in Thailand, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. Right, so I think this argument is very familiar, right? Whether, a coup, a military coup, can be a good way, can be a force of good, or did always something bad. Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister, quickly wrote an article on, in the Guardian to defend what was happening against Morsi, saying that Morsi had failed and this and that, so that's why the military had to intervene. I mean, to my surprise and to my shocking, he actually said that democracy doesn't necessarily bring about efficient government. Wow, he sounds very much. Suddenly, he sounds very much like Mahathir. So it's like it really depends on where you're coming from and what are the issues at stake at the time. It seems that even the most democratic, a former leader of one of the most democratic countries in the world, can suddenly come up with something that sounds very familiar to what Lee Kuan Yew and Mahathir have said over the last so many years. But if we look at, Malaysia, we have so many neighbors in the region, and we know that in many of these countries, military coup is not something new to them. For example, you look at Myanmar right now, although it has a civilian government, but we know the military still plays a very important role, very prominent role behind the scenes. And also Thailand, like I said, the Philippines, Indonesia, so on and so forth. If you want me to give you one example whether or not military coup may be able to contribute something positively to the political development in the country, in other words, bringing about stability and peace, I try very hard, but I can think of one, which is Portugal in 1974 when they had their Coronation Revolution. They overthrew, the military overthrew a very autocratic government, and later on, the country embarked on the journey of peace and stability, eventually leading to Portugal joining the European Union. However, we must not forget one thing. There was an external environment that was working in favor of Portugal. That was the attraction of the European Union. After the military coup, the generals, they knew that Portugal was already a very poor country at the time. The economy was collapsing and this and that in 1974. So although it still has colonies, pockets of colonies in Africa, it had just acquired East Timor and and all that. But don't forget, it was a very poor country at the time. So the generals were very eager to join the European Union. So and the European Union also used the economic prosperity as an incentive to encourage political changes within Portugal. So there was a very different external environment and conditions that eventually enabled the military to go back to the barracks and handle the country back to a civilian government after the coup. And Turkey, at one time, was trying to do the same. When Erdogan came to power about 10 years ago in 2003, he knew that he was very aware that his party, the AKP, the Development Party, Justice and Development Party. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, AKP. Right. It looks actually a lot more secular than our past in Malaysia, but it is still a party that is rooted in Islamic ideology. And he knew that the generals were not very happy with his election as prime minister. So, and when the military actually requested that his wife must, buang tudung, because in all the official functions, in Turkey, at the time, the ladies were not allowed to put on the tudung. It was really that secular, you see. So when his wife was asked to buang the tudung, he chose not to have his wife accompany him on all the state functions, right? So that was how he chose to deal with the military. And but he used one his strategy of using the European Union, encouraging public discourse on joining, the benefits of joining the European Union, building up trust and rapport with European leaders, giving them some, hopes that Turkey would continue to democratize and to improve on human rights in order to meet the conditions of joining the EU. So he was using all these incentives to make sure that the military would hand over powers to him one by one. So now we know what happened in the last 10 years. I think to his credit, Turkey has become less militarized, which is a good thing to me, because you cannot have the the military controlling your business, your civil society, your malls, everything. You know, the military is a military. Soldiers are soldiers. They are not supposed to be doing, you know, things that are not their job. They should be back in the barracks. So to that extent, in that respect, I think I would personally give credit to Erdogan. But because he moved too fast and he became also too ambitious, so he became a concern not only for the secular Turks who were afraid of Islamization in the country, but also to the United States and his Western allies, whether or not this guy has gone too far. So you can see, like even Turkey that has a history of military coups, they have had 3 coups since the 1960s, right? Since 1950s. So it's like for 1960, 1960, 1981, and 1961, 1980, and then the most recent in 1997, when an Islamist party was forced out of power in Turkey. But he successfully negotiated very carefully and gained power back from the military, right? But then you look at other countries like in the region that are not so successful, like Thailand. There is a reversal of democracy. In 1992, when the military shot dead so many people on the streets of Bangkok, the Thai king became so angry, so infuriated, allegedly for Nonya. We don't know whether it was, it is true or not, but for Nonya, the king was very furious with the military because his own subjects were killed on the street. But some would also say the royal family was involved behind the scenes to some extent. Whatever regardless of the argument, the civilian government at the time used the opportunity to reduce the military budgets for the military, and also to reduce the role of the military in Thai politics. All this effort was reversed in 2006 after Thaksin was overthrown. Then Thaksin also got himself to blame because between 2001 and 2006, when he was in power, he continued to reduce the military budget, and also he continued to curtail the powers of the military. That to some extent, of course, you didn't win friends in the military by doing that. So the military, in turn, was using his so-called Republican instincts, to move against it. So finally, if you consult some alternative studies or scholarly research in Thailand, they will tell you Thaksin was basically ousted by the combined forces of the opposition, the military, and also the royal family. So he didn't win support, of any of these segments. So that's why he was ousted. And after that, you can see the Thai military began to play a more prominent role compared to the late 1990s. And today, you can see a lot of business still controlled by the military, and their presence is still, larger than it has been since the 1990s. Remember, I only have to give you one incident in 2008. We know that in late 2008 there was the Suvarna Bhumi airport was locked down because of the yellow shirt protest. They occupied the airport and all that. The military didn't do anything to stop these people. Why? Because yellow shirts were working together with the military, and they got the approval of the military to prevent the red shirts from coming back, to prevent pro-Thaksin forces from recouping and to win the upcoming general elections. However, we can see the consequences of military coup in 2006. We can talk about so many more military coups in Thailand. Like Arifin said, there's about more than 20 of them. But I want to focus on 2006. The coup in 2006 really split Thai society down through the middle. Today, politics to some extent is a taboo in Thailand because you would have, if you have Thai friends, the chances are you would have 50 of them pro-Thaksin, 50 of them against Thaksin. 50 of them in favor of military intervention, 50% of them against military intervention. So the society is so divided, and there's a lot of bloodshed, a lot of violence that is still going on until today. The wounds, so the societal wounds are yet to be healed. It has not been. Politics has not improved after military intervention in 2006. Actually, it worsens the public divisions, social divisions more than ever before. So we have to bear in mind, if